Shows the installation and programming of our OEM remote activated remote car starter for the 2017 Honda HR-V push to start vehicle. We're in a 2017 Honda HR-V. We're going to do a remote starter that activates by locking the doors 3 times from the OEM remote. This is a push to start vehicle. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. We're going to do a little disassembly first so we have some room to access the components we need to access. So we're going to go ahead and start by disassembling the lower dash, and we're going to remove the steering column cover plastic. Now, first thing we're going to do is remove the side panel. Now, they've used these clips that, little plastic clips, sometimes are hard to release. So we're just using our plastic tool, and we're just gently working our way up. If we get a clip that sticks, we can go behind with an angle pick and release the little tab here to get it to come out without breaking anything or doing any damage. We've got one more up high, and again we're just using our hook pick. We'll go up behind it and release it. Okay, now we're going to want to have the key in the vehicle so we can unlock the steering wheel. So we're going to pop this cover up. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the wheel. We're going to put our plastic tool in this little groove here, and we're going to push this cover up so we can get to screws that are located underneath the cover. So the top comes off first. And so we're just going to flip that up. I'll show you there's a couple of Phillips screws behind that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the Phillips screws. This may or may not have to be done, but it'll give us extra clearance if we're pulling out the cluster. We also have a screw down here in the back. Phillips screw, we're going to remove that. Okay, and we're going to remove the lower dash here. It'll help have this off when we actually secure all our equipment when we're done. So, again, this may or may not have to come off, but we're going to remove it. Push button cover. I'm going to unplug the push to start button for a second here. Now we have a economy button, traction control, and a TPMS button. We're going to unplug all of these. 3 of them. There may be more on your model. I'm going to set this plastic aside. Okay, so this gives us a little bit extra room to work when we go to secure our equipment up. And we're going to need to remove this to access the parking lights anyway. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, we're going to remove the bezel from around the instrument cluster. You're going to be careful. Try not to touch the lenses. Okay, so we're going to go around with our plastic tool. I'm going to pop this bezel out. And again, if we get it in here where it doesn't want to come out, we can reach behind and push the clips out. Okay, we're going to completely remove the bezel. This will expose a few Phillips screws. We're going to remove the Phillips screws Got one up in the top in the middle and one on each side. Then we're going to pull the cluster right out. You see one of the Phillips screws right here. And then we have a Phillips screw down here. And then on the opposite side we have another one. We use our plastic tool to help us. Okay, here's the clips on the top, in the center. And we're going to go ahead, we've got it unplugged. Let's see if we can remove this. Perhaps you can remove these, and we did. Pull this whole mechanism out for the odometer reset. Just going to lock the wheel. Looks like it had better luck coming out this way. Okay, we're looking in the hole that's left by the removal of the instrument cluster, and you see the module there with the 3 plugs. That's where our T-harness is going to plug in. Okay, we're going to go ahead and we're going to plug number 1 in. We're going to have to remove this plug that's plugged into our smart module. The clip is in the back. I've reached around and pressed it. We're going to plug in our harness into the smart module. And then we're going to plug the vehicle harness into our T-harness as well. Okay, now we're going to move to plug 2. And again, we're going to reach around behind it, press the clip, pull the plug, and we're going to plug in the smaller T-harness. Now we're going to plug the vehicle's plug that we've removed from our smart module, and we're going to plug it into our T-harness plug. It's time to program our device. We're going to locate the program button on the Evo 1. And we're going to hold this program button down while we're plugging in the main harness or the 6-pin plug. When we do this, the LED lights on the device over here are going to start cycling. We want to release when we have a solid red and a solid blue light. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to hold the program button with our thumb, and we're going to plug in the main harness, and we're going to watch the lights. When we have a solid blue and red, we're going to release the button. If we make a mistake, we can unplug the 6-pin and we can repeat the procedure. We can also keep the button held down and it'll cycle back around to these 2 colors. Now we're going to plug the remaining connectors into our device. So on the back side here we have a red plug. We're going to plug that into the red plug port. We also have a white plug. We're going to plug the white plug into the white plug port. Now we're going to plug the 20-pin plug into the 20-pin port adjacent to the 6-pin port. We're not going to want to push any buttons while we're plugging these in, so be very careful. The next step, we're going to press and release the program button, and that's the same button we held down when we inserted the harness. We're going to push it and release it 3 times. 1, 2, 3. We're going to want to have the key inside the vehicle. Only 1 key. Now during our disassembly we've unplugged the push to start button, so I stopped the video to plug that back in. Don't forget to plug the button back in or we'll have no way to turn the ignitions on. So I'm going to go ahead, we're not going to hold the brake, we don't want to start the car, but we want to turn the ignitions on. So we push this button 2 times to turn the ignitions on. Yellow flashing light. Now we have a blue flashing light. At this point we're going to turn the ignition off or press the push to start button 1 time. The yellow and red lights will alternate slowly, and this is an indication that we are ready to run the Dcryptor process with our FlashLink loader on our computer. As a rule of thumb, when unplugging the plugs, we want to do the power last. So we're going to unplug the red plug, we're going to unplug the white plug, we're going to unplug the 20-pin plug, and then we're going to unplug the power plug. And again, we're not pushing any buttons, and we're being careful not to push them by accident. Now we're going to go to the computer and run the Dcryptor process. To download the FlashLink Manager program, go to Fortin's website, www.ifar.ca. You're going to select the Support tab. You're going to select the FlashLink Manager. You're going to select Download Now. You'll have to agree to the end user license. You will be prompted to download the FlashLink Manager setup. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and you're going to open the FlashLink Manager setup. Follow the prompts to install the program. When you do this, you're going to need a Windows 10 computer. It's not going to work on Android operating systems or Apple operating systems. Windows 10 is the preferred operating system. You can use Windows 7, but it has to be fully updated. There's a list of supported operating systems, but if they're not fully updated, you will have issues running the program, so it's best to just use Windows 10. I already have the program installed on this computer, so I'm not going to go through this stuff. When you open the program, you're going to see a login screen. You'll have to click Create an Account, and you will go in and you'll fill out a form. You'll create the account. There's two things on the form that are a little bit confusing. It'll ask you for a website and a business name. You can put any website and any business name in. You just have to have something in the blank. So it's www.whatever.com and a business name. Without these two things, the form will not submit. So once you submit the form, they're going to send you a confirmation email. A lot of times it goes into a spam folder. So if you don't get this email, look in your spam folder, and you have to respond to the email before you can use the credentials that you set up to log in. So if you have issues logging in, you have to follow the steps. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in. Okay, so I've logged in, and I have not plugged in the FlashLink programmer as of yet. This is the screen we want to see. This is telling us that the PC is unable to detect the updater. So now we're going to plug in the updater. So this is going to let us know if it's going to be recognized so we can use the program. So when we plug in the loader, we're going to wait a few seconds here. The screen should change, and it should now indicate that we don't have a module. This means that it's seen the programmer, and now it's looking for a module. So at this point, we're going to plug in the module that we're going to decrypt. There's a 4-pin port, a black port, up on the top. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug into the 4-pin port. We're going to wait for the module to be inspected. Okay, now here's another pitfall that I'm going to show you how to avoid. This is what's called wizard mode. Wizard mode is generally used to set up the device for the first time. We've already set up the device and we flashed it so that you can just run the decryptor. You don't have to start from the beginning and select the vehicle and everything. So we've already selected the vehicle. The vehicle doesn't have to match. It just has to use the same firmware. So if you see up here, it's showing the vehicle that we selected. So if that was a year or two off, it's not going to matter as long as it uses the same firmware. So to get out of wizard mode, what we want to do is we want to click on the gear cog icon for settings right here. This is going to bring up a screen that will allow us to go to Pro mode. In Pro mode, we can do operations without configuring the device for the first time. So we're going to wait until the Pro mode screen opens. Okay, so now at this point, you'll see the vehicle that's selected. you'll see that we have the settings that are locked here. So we want to leave everything alone. You don't want to change what I've already done, because you'll be going back in time and you will digress in your installation instead of progressing. So we're going to click the Dcryptor tab. This is going to bring us to this screen. We're going to send the data. We're going to wait. The Dcryptor process is going to run. It can take a few minutes. It can take a few seconds. So we're going to wait and let the process run undisturbed. So the unit is now being updated by the FlashLink programmer. We're going to wait until the process completes. When it completes, we will get a screen that will tell us that the process has been completed and that we can bring the module back to the vehicle and install it. The process is complete. We're going to disconnect the module and bring it to the vehicle. We're back in our vehicle. We're going to plug our device in. As a rule of thumb, whenever doing a decryption process, we want to start by plugging the device back in. We want to start with the power plug or the 6-pin plug. We don't want to hold any buttons down, we just want to plug in the 6-pin plug. Now, at this point, we're going to plug in the 20-pin plug adjacent to the 6-pin. And we're going to plug the red and the white plug in located on the back of the device. Now, with our device plugged in, we can go ahead and we can lock the doors one time. When we lock the doors, you should see a blue light blink here. And that's an indication that it's seeing door lock pulses over the CAN bus. We're back in our 2017 Honda HR-V push to start vehicle. Now, we've completed the installation and we went ahead and we tested the installation without putting the instrument cluster back in. Do not do that. The result was it did not work properly. It did not see a tax signal, and it set a check engine light. We've remedied the check engine light by disconnecting the positive battery terminal for about 5 minutes and reconnecting it, and we got rid of that. We've installed the cluster and we plugged in all the plugs that we unplugged during disassembly to test the system, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to test it again. We're going to lock the doors 3 times with our OEM remote. Our engine is started. Okay, we don't have any error lights on the dash. They've all been cleared out. Everything's back to normal. The keyless entry also stays working while the engine is running. So we can unlock and lock the doors if you hear them. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do a demo from outside the vehicle. Okay, we're outside of our 2017 Honda HR-V. I have the OEM remote. We're going to go ahead and we're going to lock the doors 3 times. Now keep in mind, I have not connected the parking lights as of yet. So we've locked 3 times. We've activated the remote starter. You know, we do have some lights coming on without a connection, but this may be because we're in a dimly lit garage. We may not do this when it's outside in the bright sunlight, depending on the vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the next step, which is connecting the parking lights. And I'm going to also show you where to obtain a horn if you're using a horn wire for your installation. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to shut the vehicle down. And we've done a modification to the T-harness to keep this OEM remote active while the vehicle is remote started. We're looking at the instructions. This is the plug that plugs into the parking light switch. We're looking for a gray wire located at the specified pin, and keep in mind the orientation is looking at the plug from the back with the clip in the upright position. So I'm going to show you where this plug is. Okay, we're looking at the parking or headlight switch here. Plug is located, plugged right into the back of it here. We're going to unplug it. We're going to turn it and we're going to look at it from the back like the instructions, and we're looking for a gray wire over here on the bottom, second pin in. It's adjacent to the white wire. I don't know if you can see that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make our parking light connection. We have our plug unplugged. We're just going to push up on the loom a little bit and hold the plug here. Okay, we're looking at it from the back, second pin in. Adjacent to the white wire is our gray parking light wire. We're going to go ahead and we're going to make our connection. We're going to use what's called a posi tap. This is a solderless, toolless connector that works really well on these small wires. We're going to unscrew the posi tap, and when we unscrew it, we're going to have a piece with a groove in it right here. We're going to place this groove around our wire. Now we're going to take the cap that we unscrewed. It has a little pin in it. We're going to screw it back down, and that pin is going to pierce the insulation of the wire and make a connection into the conductors. The way that we're going to terminate to this posi tap is we're going to loosen what's called the collar. We're going to do about 3 turns of the collar. If you go too far, it's going to fall off, and they're hard to find when you lose them. So right there, it just fell off. We're going to just start it here, a couple turns, and now we're going to take our wire off of our unit that is banded and labeled parking light. And now this is a negative parking light signal, just so you know. We're going to take our wire, we're going to strip about between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch off. Don't twist the conductors, because when we push this in, they kind of go around a cone and they'll spread themselves better if you don't twist them up. So now we're going to insert our wire into our collar, making sure all of our conductors go in, and you'll feel it bottom out. The point where it bottoms out, we're going to push it a little harder, and you'll feel it go in that 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch. And these are the wires opening up, going around the cone, and when we tighten this collar, it's going to press them against the cone. So now if you pull this, and I'm pulling it fairly hard, this will not come off. Our connection is made for the parking lights. We're going to go ahead and we're going to plug the parking light switch back in. At this point, we can go ahead and we can test our system from outside with the parking light connection made, and we're going to see how it differs. Okay, we're outside. We're going to activate our remote starter. And this time we have our parking lights on. And we have the original light that had lit up without a connection. So this will give us a visual indication that the vehicle is running when it's in remote start mode. And the backlights will be on also, so that we can tell from any angle that our vehicle is running. I'm just going to show you that the keyless entry remains functional while the engine's running. Now when we open the door on this vehicle, the engine is going to shut off. This is part of the takeover procedure. If the vehicle has no secure way to perform a takeover, the engine is going to shut off as soon as the door is open. Now we would enter the vehicle and we would have to step on the brake and restart the vehicle.